Okay, so in this video we'll be showing you, or I'll be showing you more examples of functions. Okay, more on user-defined functions. So last video, okay, or the main video, lecture video for chapter 4, okay, so I cut short the demonstration on how to create a function for, let's say, when you want a user to prompt, or when you want to create a user prompt in which to let him or her try the program again. Okay, so here is one. Okay, of course there are many ways to do this, but one is, let's say, okay, first of all, let's create a file. So create, let's save this first. I'll be creating this. Okay, more functions. Okay, .py. Okay, so first, again, we use the keyword def for definition, function definition. So let's say I'm going to call this function try again. Okay, so it will not receive any parameters or argument. So what this will do is it will just let, okay, katong ginabalik-balik na type. Okay, so do you want to try again? Okay, so you could have, okay, yes or no. Now this part here, okay, this is to ensure that whatever the letter that the user would be typing, it would always be converted to lowercase. Okay, so kana. So if C is equal to Y, okay, so return true. Otherwise, again, when you say a function has a return statement here, it is expected that this function will return a value, or the output of this function would be a certain value. So in this case, it could be either true or false. So if it's not, so ato lang i-check dere really is kung as long as yung i-enter is Y, so true na siya. Anything else, be it N or be it any other letter except Y, so it will return false. So pwede ko gihapon ninyo mas stricto nga ang iyahang, let's say, mag elif, okay, elif C is equal to N, okay, diha ninyo i-return false. Okay, pwede na siya. Okay, so that when you want please kana, but to keep it simple, but dili po kay siya yung restrictive kaayo. Okay, let's just be contented. Okay, it really depends on what program or what behavior program that is being required from you. Okay, so when in programming, okay, it's very important that whatever you are required to do, you do that first. Okay, as much as possible, ayaw ninyo dungag-dungagi unless it improves the user experience. So one way of improving user experience is kanang kato mag-prompt og do you want to try again, or do you want to drop some errors, ngana pwede na sa that is desirable. But kanang murag additional features bitaw, let's say you are required to create a program nga mag-add lang og two numbers, but naghimo pa gyud mo og maka-minus, maka-multiply, nga ang gusto lang gyud sa imuha is add. Okay, I'm making it very simple. So ingana sometimes, okay, less is good. Okay, or unsay ginapahimo sa inyo ha, as much as possible maoray inyong himuon. Okay, kana mo mga error trapping kana murag inherent na maguna sa mga programs nga tsada, or kanang what program should supposed to be. Okay, so dili na siya dapat ingon nga dapat na abay error trapping nga na, as much as possible dapat naagi na siya. Features that I'm trying to say here is kana mga additional features nga, let's say additional computational nga mga features, or nga mga sa tawag nga functions nga na capabilities. So I digress. So going back, So as long as dili niya, going back to this function, as long as dili y ang iyang enter, it would be false. Okay, so that is y nga na. Okay, so basically that's it. So let's say to keep this from dili ta magsigbalhin-balhin, functions, okay, dire lang nako i-uban sa main program. And when I require you to create programs with functions, if not instructed, okay, iubana ra ninyo file kay para dili bitaw daghan nga file inyong ginatrabaho. Anyway, what I'm requiring from you is basic raman yung mga functions, pila ra ka function, so pwede ra nga maipon pa. Okay, but kana mga dagko na gyud yung mga programs in which daghan kay functions, okay, and daghan pa gyud ang yang main nga program, daghan pa ginahimo, so mga pud ang ginahimo na dayon ana is ginabulag na by modules. Okay, but since our programs are simple enough, okay, for now pwede acceptable pa ning i-uban. Okay, so let's say user function definitions. Okay, function definitions, just to keep just for us to identify nga the ring part is function definition and this part is say main program. Okay, so kana. So let's say we want to create, okay, let's say we create a custom program that would get the average of 3 numbers. I think average, there already exists a function for that, okay, built-in function. But what I want to demonstrate and what I want to create is just an average that strictly computes 3, okay, no more, no less, 3 numbers. Okay, so let's create another function for that. Okay, then we get to invoke that later. So we call this average 3, okay, to avoid conflicting on an existing function which is average. Okay, kana. So this function will accept 3 arguments. Okay, so we're going to define 3 parameters for that. So you could name this any way you want. So I'll be naming this x, y, and z. Z. Okay, ana. So very basic, average of 3 numbers. You could immediately write a return statement. Then, okay, the operation, so man, x plus y plus z overall divided by 3. Okay, pwedeng ana. Or if you want, you could have, let's say, a is equal to, so then return a. Okay, so ultimately para sa na sila ginahimo. So let's keep it ngayong ani. Okay, so now we have our function. So how do we utilize these 3 or these 2 functions that we created? Okay, so let's first try and compute the average. If this is working, then we'll try to incorporate this try again nga feature. Okay, so let's say x is equal to input enter x value, oops, then y is equal to input enter y value, then finally the third number input enter z value. Okay, so now we have the user input, and of course we need to convert this para, okay, remember input by default, okay, their output or the data type that they will store is by default string. And remember, we could not perform, okay, computation or mathematical computation with strings. Okay, so kana. So how do we use the average? So since this would only be returning a value, okay, and if you want to display that, what we can do is, let's say, print. Okay, diba? If you want to display something in our console, okay, dapat mag-print ta. So the average is okay, so we're going to use our function. So the name of our function, which is average 3. Then we're going to supply, okay, again, the importance of the number of arguments we're going to supply, then also the order, okay. So x, so it coincidentally, okay, we use the same variables here, so pwede na siya. But if you're using, okay, different variables, let's say a, b, c, so kung sa inyong gigamit dire sa inyong main nga program, mao po din yung i-supply diha. Okay, so a, b, c. So we could change this to a, b, c. Kana. So let's try and check if this will work. So let's click run. Okay, so enter a value 3, b value 4, 5. So average, okay. Okay, again, come on, even I forget this, okay, kay magdali-dali ta. So again, if you want, diba, if you want to concatenate strings, okay, or if you want to stitch strings up, dapat tanan component should be string. So in this case, dili ni siya string, this is a float, okay, diba, the output of this is a float. So you're going to change that. So important, this is the importance of once you create a program, you make it piece by piece, okay, or you compile it piece by piece, okay, para makita ninyo sa sugod pa lang if sakto ba na. So if it's okay, then you could proceed to the next feature or function, okay, para dili bitaw ingon bulto. Kay sometimes ang mga problema sa inyong mga code magbunga sa usa, then kana would ultimately be a result of another error, okay, nga connected ato imong first nga error. Okay, so anam mo na to. Okay, so let's check if this will work. CLS, again, this is a command you can use in your console para mawala tong uban nga mga text nga nagpakita. Okay, so you can be sure that whatever text that has been printed in your console is from the latest compilation. So we're going to make this run again. 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think that's correct, ba? So 3 plus 4 plus 5, 12 divided by 3, 4. Okay, sakto. So what we want to do next is kani ngani, try again. Okay, so in this application, how we're going to use this, again, this would be case by case depende kung unsa ang inyong approach ani. But so in this approach, okay, what I'm going to do is ngani, while true, okay, again, dapat, okay, since we want this inside our while block, so dapat natin ito ng indent. Diriday na to i-check, okay, or i-ask ang user. In this case, essentially, this would be an infinite loop, okay, or this would be a logic error. But in order for us to avoid that, okay, ato atong gamiton ang try again. So if could simply use if try again, okay. So ang ginahimo ni is if ang resulta ani, okay, again, that is a function, dapat na siya parenthesis even if wala na siya argument, okay, since this is a function, dapat na gyud siya pair of parentheses. If this is equal to false, okay, diba? Again, this function, this user-defined function would return a value depende kung sa iyahang input. You might be asking, sir, asa man yung input ani? Naana diri nga part sa iyahang user nga sa ato ang function definition. Okay, naa diri ang pangutana mismo. So if that is false, okay, there should be a colon there. Then you could simply issue a break statement. Okay? So that's it. So let's try. So again, let's clear this out. So let's say 3.4 plus 5.9. Okay, then 2.67. Okay, average is 3.99. So naana dayon tong, do you want to try again? Mao ni nga feature dere or mao ni nga part dira. So if I'm going to write, let's say yes. Okay, so if I'm going to lie yes, then this would be true. Okay? Then since this condition would not be met, then this will not be executed. So, balik na pod siya. So, if we're going to enter, so enter a value na pod. So, if we're going to supply 4, 5, 6, okay? I'm going to enter n, okay, which is not the same with character y. Here, maraman itong ginatrack. Okay? Di na siya ma-false sa else. It would return, this would value, or this function would return false. Then, this would be satisfied. Then, this will issue a break command. Then, as you get to see, na-terminate na. Okay? So, very practical. Pwede na din ninyo na gamit-gamiton, actually. So, I think I demonstrated in the last video how we could separate this to another from one module. Okay, so nga na, pwede na niya gamit-gamiton. Okay, so pa man, let's try modifying this. Okay, how about we want to get the maximum of these three numbers. Okay, in a previous lecture video, we utilized list. Okay, so bisag pila man to. Okay, another since we are we are using variables, a fixed number of variables, so napoy lahi nga approach. Okay, so in this approach we are not utilizing list, but if you want you can do so, but since we haven't really discussed list in detail, so this na to na i-focus. Okay, so sa man, let's create another function. Let's say maximum of 3, max 3. Max, there already exists a function for that. Okay, built-in function. So we are going to change that. Let's say max 3. Okay, so x, y, z. So same set of data. We are going to get the maximum number of, or maximum value of a number of. So how do we do this? Okay, one solution is yung ane. Okay, so we're anam-anaman man na. If you're going to compare, okay, you could really only compare two at a time. Okay, xy or xz or yz nga na. So dili ni mo na ma-compare diretso. Okay, I think in your logic na subject, okay, or sama ng uban ninyo nga subject na ay logic, kay na true or false, discrete, di ba? Paris gyud na. Bahalag daghan kay ng xyz, wx, abc nga na. Ang iyahang pag-compare ana is always by pair. Okay? Ayhan na day ninyo i-compare if sa ba nahuman na compare nga pair, then whatever the result of that, compare na po din sa usa. Okay? So kana. So how we're going to do this? Okay, is nga ni. If x is greater than y. Okay? So makaingon ta nga mas dako gyud ang x sa y, di ba? So if that is true, then x is greater than y, and x is greater than z. So nahulog ani nga gi-compare nato ni una. Okay? Then see if dako ang x, compare na pud nato sa z. If mas dako gyud gihapon siya sa z, then we get to say that ato ang pinakadako, okay, again this would return a value is x. Okay? If, okay, ako tawa na po na i-compare. If y is greater than x, okay, if y is greater than x, and y is greater than z, so mas dako ang y. Return y. Then, okay, we could return z. So if this is not true, then ultimately z is the largest number. Okay, we could check if this works. Okay, again, this is one solution. Okay, there are many, or there are more than one. Okay, so this is one approach for you to try out, or for us to try out. Okay, so average. So gusto na to print the largest number is, okay, so we're going to use max 3, max 3, oops, should not be contained within that string. Max 3 A, okay, B, C. Okay, then since we want to display that or we want to concatenate that with another string, so ito anang i-convert or i-cast into string. Okay, so let's check. So we'll make this run. So 3, 4, oops, nag-enter ko. I pressed enter there without putting a number. So ito. So 3, 4, 2. Okay, so the average is 3, okay, and the largest is 4, which is correct. Diba? If we're going to try this again, yes. So 5, 23, 14. Okay? So, as you get to see, sakto, ang ato ang program. Okay? So, by simply changing the operator here, we could get the smallest. Okay? Of course, we need to change the name for that. So, X, Y, Z. Okay? So, bali na pod ang atong analogy. If X is less than Y and X is less than Z, then return X. Okay? And if Y is less than X and Y is less than Z, we're going to return Y. Else, if the previous branches is false, we're going to return Z. So, ito i-test. Ito na lang ikopyahon. So, the smallest, okay, the smallest number is mean. Okay, save. Okay, let's end this. Kika na. Okay, so 2, 3, let's say a negative value, negative 1. Okay, or negative 5. So, average is 0. I think that cancels out 2 and 3. Okay, so, diba? 2 plus 3 plus negative 5. 2 plus 3, di makaya, dili by default atong calculator will not accept minus nga i-negate. But anyway, pwede mo naman 2 plus 3, 5, 5 plus minus 5, that is essentially 5 minus 5, 0. 0 divided by 3 is 0. Okay, sakto na siya. Largest number is 3, which is correct. Smallest number is to negative 5. Okay, so far, na siya. Okay, so diba, these are some very simple yet practical nga mga examples. Okay, I think ang pinaka magamit yun siguro ninyo is kani. Okay, so pwede nyo na himuon. Next, okay, how about some medyo step high, level up, gamay lang. So I think you're familiar with the mga algebraic expression. Okay, so diba ipasolve, solve for x, solve for y, or solve for a certain value given another value. So mga formula kay mga geometric, mga algebraic, kay mga trigonometric nga na. You could easily incorporate that, or not really easily, but you could incorporate that in a program. Okay, so that once we compile that program successfully, we could simply provide all the given, okay, then we find for the unknown, or we solve for the unknown, or it will be provided with a solved unknown. So let's say the distance formula. Are you familiar with that? Distance formula. Okay, let's have a calculator para we could check. Kani. Okay, so the distance formula is kani. Okay? So, given the value of x, two coordinates, okay? X, this first coordinate, then the second coordinate, okay? This calculate the distance between 2 points in a two-dimensional space, okay? So, essentially a line, okay? So, be it anywhere in a 2D plane. Kaya, dili nata mag-discuss o algebra or trigo ani. Kaya, I think you underwent basic algebra naman, so you're familiar with this. Okay? Now, we want to convert, okay? We want to convert this into a program or a calculator similar to this nga mag-provide lang taging ani. So, once we press calculate, magpakita din siya result, which is kana. Okay? So, let's try that. Now, when you're creating a function, okay, you need first to, of course, aside from the name, let's say I'm going to call this distance. Okay? I think there's no user-defined function named distance. Okay? You need to take note of the arguments that it should accept. Okay? In this case, given the formula, unsa man iyahang mga information kinahanglan. Okay? First, the first point, which is comprised of two values, x and y. Then the second point, okay, which is comprised of x2 and y2. So we could copy that naming. Okay? So we could have x1, y1. Okay? Then we have x2, y2. So kani, here comes the main problem. Okay? How do we convert this formula aman to kani, okay, into a function or into a statement in Python that it could understand or it could process. Okay? So, D is equal to kani. We could not really put that immediately sa tuang compiler, okay? Or tuang editor. Remember, katong I think we have discussed this topic nga mag-convert og formula and remembering the precedence, operator precedence. So, dapat ma-apply na ninyo ni dere, okay? Or you definitely need to apply this here. Okay? So, first is unsaon maning ing ani. What is this called? That is, diba? That is a square root. Okay? Square root. Now, fortunately, Python has a built-in function for that. Okay? But in order for you to do that or to use that, we need first to import, okay, a module from Python, okay, called the math module. Okay? So, to import that, we could just write, okay, import, okay, math. Na lang. Okay? So, import math. So, in order for you to use, we could say this is morag mo ning pinaka last nga step. Ihaning square root whatever the result of this equation here. So, we could write math.sqrt. Okay? Mo na square root. Okay? So, murag kani siya, nga state ka function, okay, is kaning dere. Okay, kana. So, we want this inside dere. Okay? So, ano na mo na to, okay? Let's check. So, ang pinakauna niya himuon is i-minus ni, then whatever the result of that, iyan ng square, plus, kanina pod, i-minus niya ni square, then whatever the result of this would be, we'll have a square root for that. So, kani. First is, okay, naman na to. Butang sa taog, parenthesis. Okay, again, parenthesis is used so that it overrides the precedence order nga dihang una. Okay? So, unsa man, that is x2 minus x1. So, since we named that similarly, x2, okay, minus x1. Ilan ako butangan sa space in between kay para dili kayo expanded ang ato ang formula. Okay, so nana na siya. Then, okay, ato ang square. Diba? So, we could, unsa man, power. Okay, so in Python, there is an operator for that. Unsa ganito? That is double asterisk. Then, 2. Okay. Then, plus. Kanina pod. Diba? Remember, we are still inside this square root. Okay? Mao ni ang ending nga parenthesis. So, dapat maayod mo mata-mata. Okay? And some editor like this one aids in showing you unsa mo nga part ang pares ani. Take note, if mag-add ko dire kani nga parenthesis iyang i-highlight mao ni iyang pares. If diri pod, okay, kana. So, y2 and y1. Okay, we'll create another set of pair of parentheses. Okay, y2 minus y1. Okay, then outside of that, di ba? Kung unsay resulta ani, ato anang i-power or raise to the power of 2. So, asterisk, double asterisk 2. Okay, so let's try if this will work. If this yields an incorrect value, then let's revise this. Okay, naman na to. So, kana. So, let's change this, some of this. Let's say x1. Ito na lang ning reason. Since we are using a different set of data here. x2. So, x1 value. Let's keep it like this, or let's do it like this. x1 y1, diba? x1 and y1, that represents a point in our two-dimensional plane. Then another point is x2. Okay, x2. I'm going to copy this. Then y2 value. Okay, so now we have 4 parameters we require. So ato na lang da yung i-compute. Okay, so print the distance is, okay, distance. So diri na gyud mag-matter ang katong order, di ba? Dapat yun sakto na x1 y1. So x1 y1, oops, should not be separate. x2 y2. Then tuwa nang na. Okay, let's try. Then to check if sakto ba, we're going to use the same given. Okay, I'm going to make this run. X1 value is -7. Y1 value is -4. X2 value, okay, before I continue, we still haven't finished really our function definition. Kaya wala pa ta nag-issue return statement. So we're going to cut this short. Okay, return D. Okay, so let's run it again. -7, -4, 17, then 6.5. Okay, so the result is, okay, more or less the same, okay, except the number of decimal. Okay, so if you want, let's say we're going to end this. Okay, if you want to round this off, okay, you could simply, there is a built-in function for that, how to round itong i-round ang output ani. So pila man niyang gibutang 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so we could simply write round, okay, the first, okay, the first parameter for the round function is the number you want to round. Okay? Then, the second parameter is the number of places. Okay? Since there are 6 here, so butang punta og 6 diha. Okay? So, let's sanikan clear. Okay? So, x1 value, negative 7, negative 4, 17, 6.5. Okay? So, as you get to see, parehas na sila. Okay? Diba? Okay, it's quite a practical nga program na. So, if you want, okay, or I highly suggest you to do something like this, okay, you find a calculator of a certain formula, then you try and, okay, convert it in a Python program, similar to this, okay, and of course, utilize functions, okay. So, I think this is enough of an example that you could start with, okay. Again, ayaw mo kakontento ani, okay, you try and study more, research more, okay, tanaw mo YouTube, tanaw mo tutorial to expand from this knowledge. So, ang ko lang i-discuss dere, let this be a formal lecture that will be the basis for our quizzes, okay, for assignment or any activities, online activities that is related to this subject. Okay, para na lang mo ibasihan. Okay? So, kana. So, that's it for this video. Okay? So, I hope you appreciate this kanang practicality of how to create functions, how useful it is. Okay? So, kana. Again, if you have questions, you post that in a comment here in YouTube or in our Google Classroom. So, see you in our next set of lecture videos.